Nobody tells you this, but most of adulthood is just you reacting to shit in real time and pretending that it was part of the plan. It's like improv with taxes and a retirement account that still thinks that you're 32. I really thought that one day that I would wake up and just know stuff, right? Like some adulting instinct would kick in and suddenly I'd know when to rotate my tires, how escrow works, and why it's a requirement to have a second freezer in the garage. Well, I don't. I have receipts, anxiety, and a really cool spice rack. That's kind of it. That's the whole starter kit. No manual was included. It's just cumin and vibes, my friend. Cumin and vibes. As humans, we forget that this is everyone's first time through life. Even your parents were just taller children with permanent injuries, a meatloaf they never questioned, and an irrational fear of microwaving foil. They weren't wise. They were learning as they went along. But what if the thing that we're blaming ourselves for was never even real to begin with? Here's the thing. Everyone is improvising. Everyone around you is doing the same thing, but they're calling it a season or a growth chapter, or my personal favorite, they're just trusting the process. Ma'am, you're on your fourth job in 2 years and your therapist just ghosted you. There is no process. Adulthood doesn't have an arrival. It has bills and rerouted expectations, and people who used to be your role models suddenly telling you about Medicare Part B and reverse home mortgages. So if you still feel like a fraud, yeah, same, every day. At this point, I'm just hoping some confidence kicks in before my arthritis does. Which, for the record, is the unofficial theme of half of my one-on-ones. People asking if they're behind and if they're too old to start over, and me yelling, absolutely not. And then quietly whispering, don't forget the Tylenol. Looking back, some of my biggest regrets aren't even the choices that I made. It's the way that I judged myself for not being able to meet the impossible standards set by forces that I can't even name. Like I failed some invisible audition for adulthood that I didn't even know I was in. Am I too loud, too soft, too ambitious, too tired, didn't breed, didn't get the big promotion? Clearly I was the problem. Except looking back with my hindsight glasses on, I really don't think that I was. I didn't fail adulthood. Adulthood failed me. Then when I questioned it, it looked me dead in the eye and said, Sheila, you're overreacting. Turns out it wasn't me just being dramatic. There truly is something even worse than feeling like you failed at adulthood. And most of us don't even realize that we're doing it until the damage is already done. We're going to unpack that in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk to you about the lie of the adult formula that we were sold. We weren't taught how to live. We were taught how to comply, and it started in the classroom. Raise your hand, ask to speak, wait for permission to pee, never question the teacher, never finish first unless you want to be the weird one. They called it education, but it was behavioral boot camp with a report card. When they were done, they handed us a diploma and told us that we were ready, like it was some kind of armor instead of just a piece of paper. We were in such a damn hurry to grow up. Remember that? Like adulthood was going to be all cake for dinner, no curfews, and nobody telling us what to do. Seriously, who pitched adulthood like it was recess? Honestly, I really hope that they're in the witness protection program right now because I really have some questions. We were sold this life package. Do well in school, go to college, get a job, get a mortgage, maybe a partner, maybe a pet, and boom, you win adulthood. Cue the confetti and the carpal tunnel, people. You got promoted. Now you have meetings about meetings. You get a raise. Hello, new tax bracket. You finally get a Costco membership and you lose entire Saturdays navigating it like it's the Oregon Trail. We were handed a script. One character, one plot, one acceptable arc. If you deviated from that and built something different, if you got divorced, stayed single, never had kids, or got laid off, or dared to want to rest, well, you were a red flag. You were someone that made bad choices. You were selfish. You were someone to be fixed, or worse, ignored. I think that's why so many of us are sitting in our 40s and 50s and beyond wondering how the hell we got tricked into being loyal to a version of adulthood that only served the people who wrote the rules. And when you start questioning the script, something unexpected happens. Now, I didn't realize this until much later, so I want to share it with you now. We thought that adulthood would mean freedom, but what it actually means is rearranging your whole life around other people's emergencies, smiling through obligations you didn't agree to, and calling all of that maturity. Nobody warned us the job would come with layoffs, the house would come with mold and property tax, and adulthood would come with night sweats, mystery bruises, and a raccoon in the crawl space acting like he's your bestie. No one mentioned that you'd be signing legal documents that you barely understand, and somehow you've become the kind of person who owns 4 pill organizers and still forgets which day you're medicating for. Every 2 weeks, I sort my pills like I'm prepping for a clinical trial that I'm not qualified to run, and I've not 1 ounce of confidence that I'm doing it right. Not one. I'm 90% sure that I took Tuesday's pills on Monday and just called it a plot twist. It'll all balance out by the weekend. We weren't taught how to live. We were taught how to perform, how to make ourselves useful, how to shut up and be efficient while smiling with our eyebrows. We learned how to color inside the lines, ask for PTO like it's a marriage proposal, and answer, "How are you?" with "busy but blessed." The brochure said stability, respect, fulfillment. It didn't say that you'd have to spend your adult life with chronic anxiety disguised as reliability, and that you were in a slow march towards becoming a person who has a favorite grocery store cashier. By the time you realize adulthood isn't about freedom, it's too late. You've already financed a mattress, bought the wrong vacuum, and scheduled a pap smear during your lunch break like a damn professional. Success wasn't joy. It was compliance with the benefits package. So if you're feeling like you missed a step, you didn't. You're just finally unlearning the conditioning. And that's not failure, that's progress. We were trained to be functional in systems that don't care if we thrive, as long as we're quiet and productive. And when we struggle, the system doesn't apologize. It diagnoses us. It says, oh, you can't function under sustained pressure with no support? Yeah, that sounds like a you problem. You don't need a clear 5-year plan. You need one good reason to start and the guts to pivot when it all goes sideways. Because, my friend, it will go sideways. But that's not failure. That's the syllabus. And even when we do pivot and try something different, we drag around the shame that we're winging it. Like somehow that disqualifies us from moving forward. But the truth is, winging it is the default setting. We're all just adult toddlers with better shoes and worse posture, bluffing our way through life and hoping that no one realizes that we've worn the same shirt for 3 days in a row. Somewhere along the line, we got sold this lie that our lives had to be impressive to be worthwhile. Like fulfillment had a resume and a highlight reel and only counts if you get likes. You're supposed to be driven but humble, accomplished but selfless, ambitious but never threatening, and for the love of HR, don't forget to be likable. You're supposed to work full-time, love your job, volunteer on the weekends, and meal prep with a ring light and gratitude. And if you don't match that script, then you failed the audition. You're not a real adult. You're just someone with bills and a bad attitude. But here's the thing. I played the part. I smiled in meetings. I performed gratitude like it was part of my 401k. I knew how to sand down my edges to fit the room. What I didn't know is that I was being rewarded for shrinking. Turns out the system doesn't reward your talents. It rewards your ability to make other people comfortable. And still we chase it. Titles, paychecks, degrees, like gold stars for grown-ups, hoping that if we collect enough, we unlock clarity. But really, the prize is a standing desk that you never use and a LinkedIn badge that says open to work. Adulthood isn't an achievement. You don't arrive, you accumulate like rust. Or like mold in the cottage cheese that you forgot was in the back of your fridge. True story, actually. The horror of opening that lid. Oh my God. Nobody tells you that success will still feel hollow sometimes, or that stability can come with a price tag that includes boredom, back pain, and a loss of spontaneity so severe that you start scheduling your own joy. At some point, the shame kicks in and you start doing the imaginary math on how far behind you are, right? Like there's some huge ass scoreboard out back and you're losing on every category but sarcasm and deep-seated resentment. No house, no retirement, no 6-figure job where your biggest problem is choosing between oat milk or almond milk for your wellness smoothie. And every scroll tells you the same thing. You should have started earlier, you should have tried harder, and you should have wanted it more. Let's be real. The person who looks like they've got it all together is probably one delayed Amazon delivery away from a full identity crisis. We are all improvising. We're stumbling forward with a mix of borrowed advice, caffeine, and emotional scar tissue. Honestly, half the channel members that I have join just to feel less weird about how off script their life is. The other half thought that I provided snacks. I do not. So stop waiting for permission to live a life that makes sense to you. Your life isn't measured by applause or performance reviews. You are allowed just to exist, to be mediocre, joyful, quiet, weird, whatever fits you. To enjoy things quietly, to choose peace over performance. That's not giving up. It's opting out of a game that you never agreed to play. True freedom, the kind that really matters, comes when you realize that you don't need to win at a game designed by other people. Because, my sweet friend, nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody. I spent years chasing the version of adulthood that made sense to everybody else. Turns out the scariest part isn't doing something different, it's actually something much simpler. So, my advice, stop waiting for a life that makes sense to everyone else. I had the 6 figures, the job title, the business cards that had my name spelled correctly, and none of it saved me. It didn't make the layoff softer or the identity crisis less painful. Tear up the comparisons that you've generated in your head. They don't serve you. Eat the damn cake. And not just any cake, a tres leches cake with real butter and homemade whipped cream. Not because life is short, but because you've spent enough years playing support staff in other people's highlight reels. Wear the outfit that makes you feel like yourself. Say no without a paragraph. Watch a movie because you've already seen it 7 times and you're tired, and comfort counts. Live the life that actually makes sense to you, not the one that looks impressive on a resume. Not the one that your family understands. Not the one that the algorithm rewards. You don't need a permission slip for your life, so stop asking for one. And stop explaining your life to people that aren't living it. And just as a side note, let other people live their lives the way that they want to. You don't have to agree with everyone's choices to honor their path. Because the point isn't to win at adulthood, it's to reclaim it. From capitalism, from conditioning, from the expectation that you'll stay quiet while everything inside you begs for more. Life isn't about winning, it's about building a life that feels like yours, even if it looks small from the outside. So yeah, eat the cake. Skip the networking event. Wear the robe to the mailbox. If that makes someone uncomfortable, good. Let that be their growth opportunity. Because once you stop performing the version of adulthood that was handed to you, there's this brutal, beautiful moment of, now what? And most people avoid that moment like it's radioactive. But if you can stand still in it, even for a second, something shifts. Not the answers, not the fear, but the lie that said you were supposed to know what you were doing by now. That's the crack. And what comes through it next? Well, that's where everything changes. I can't wait to show you that here.